Well, thanks for joining us today and talking politics in Western Pennsylvania. Today we have a person running for County Commissioner, Kevin Redford. Kevin, how are you?
Good, Bill. Thanks for having me.
You're no stranger to this.
No.
You used to work these cameras when you
That's
went
what I
to
was just
Peters.
saying. Yeah, when I went to Peters, and I was here from '98 till 2001. Well, '97, 2001. But yeah, media was where I spent most of my time, or theater, media, theater, anywhere I could. I just love being involved with the behind the scenes and also being on stage or in front of the camera. It was always fun.
I've been doing these programs since we moved in about 17 years ago, and I love doing the programs,
Yeah.
but I also enjoy working with the kids because,
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
you said, it was so funny because I had a master's from Duquesne in instructional technology, and we learned all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I learned a couple years ago that these kids were so far past what I knew,
yeah.
it was ridiculous. So I was just like, okay, great.
Right.
What was this for? Okay, well, you're running for commissioner.
Yes, sir.
As the
Yes.
sign said.
As the sign, yeah.
Okay.
It's a weird thing seeing your sign everywhere.
Well, you know what, and that rightfully so.
Yeah.
You know, because once again, anybody who runs for public office, and I've been there and done that, either needs their head examined or
Right.
be patted on the back for doing something most people won't do.
We can go with the latter if you want, but I'm not going to lie to you. My wife and I discuss often what are we doing here. You know, and honestly, it's been a very fun experience. There are 6 people running in my primary, and I actually get along with just about all of them. You know, we have great conversations, and I'm genuinely a nice person, I think. So when we talk, we have great conversations, and they're all saying, "Oh, I want to be over so soon." I'm like, I'm loving this. I'm meeting people. I'm out and about. I really actually enjoy this part of it so far.
Well,
so maybe I do need my head examined.
I'll
I guess,
surprise
yeah.
you, but as I told you walking in here,
Yeah.
many of my friends who know you said the same thing.
That
He's a good guy,
well,
which is one of the reasons you're sitting here today.
I guess, right. You know, with my business in the area and how it's always been, I feel like I've been basically a politician my whole life. You know, when your business has your name on it, and everywhere you go, people recognize you. You know, I photograph these kids all the time, and so they see me out in public.
Well, stop there for a second,
yeah, go ahead.
okay?
Yeah.
That's what I want to talk about.
Well, let's talk
that
about
these
it.
people have known you for years and your
Yes.
family's company for
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
But explain that.
Sure. My father started our business, Redford Photography, in 1977, 78, and it was located in Dormont. And in 1986, he moved it out to McMurray, East McMurray Road, which is, I believe, a bank now, but it was right across the street from the library. And that's when things really exploded. Moving out to Washington County is a good thing for a business to do. And so 1986 is when he moved out here, and my mother and him they were the premier portrait photographers. At that point, I was still in school, but 1997, when I was about a sophomore in high school, I started working pretty much full-time for the business during the summers and whatnot. And then 2001, when I graduated from Peters, made the way into the business. And we were still doing portraits. It was high school seniors, families and children, weddings. And as time goes on, technology changes and things get a little bit easier for the regular consumer with cameras. It's not as popular to get your senior portraits taken by a professional as it used to be. It's still, we still do very well with it, but it's not as popular. So I saw that trend starting to happen about 2005, 2006. And around 2007 or 8, we made the move into school districts. And we wanted to take what we had learned in our portrait backgrounds and creating beautiful portraits and translate that to doing it on a mass level with school districts. And so there's national companies that do that, and then there's local companies, and we wanted to be the #1 local company for school portraits. So we do that across about 16 or 17 school districts, and through that, we get to know a lot of the administration. We get to know obviously all the kids, and I've said this before. I think the southwestern Pennsylvania kids are some of the best out there. When we do the pictures, they thank us. They see us in the hall. They give us high fives. It's a unique relationship. And so. But what I was saying earlier with that is that my name is attached to it, and so when you're trying to please 30 or 40,000 people at a time, and you put your name on it, you basically make yourself a little bit of a politician that way. You have to keep people happy, and again, in politics, you're not going to be able to keep everyone happy, obviously, just like with photography. But yeah, that's what we've been doing, and that's how a lot of people may know me, is from that business.
Well,
And
you've
so,
grown the
yeah,
company.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of the benefits of the position you're going for
Yeah.
is that you have the knowledge of the activity in Washington County.
Yeah.
Okay, and which means a lot because let me tell you something. There are some people running against you
Okay.
who have no experience whatsoever. There's one very young person who's all of a sudden comes up with 40 years of experience, but if you look at that 40 years, it's all the same years.
Okay.
It's 14 different things. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing that, I've never seen anybody account for that. But the bottom line is the money seems to be pushing her. So we'll
Yeah.
see. But, like I said, but many of these people have no experience in business. They have no experience. And in the county, you need that experience. You need background on how to plan budgets, how to, hire people, how to do things. Like I said, so you're already walking in the door with some of those things. Now, you don't know all of them,
Certainly not,
unless
no,
you know
yeah.
healthcare and stuff like that.
No,
So-
just through passing understanding of certain things. But yeah, that's been one thing that I've been most comfortable with is that this position, while it is a political position, it is very much an administrative business. It is focused on the financial elements of the daily life of the county, which in what I do. Budgeting, employment, I hire and fire people all the time. And so that is a big part of why I feel comfortable in this role rather than running for something totally different, because this job is keeping the lights on in Washington County, keeping the businesses working and wanting them to come into town. And I have a young family. I want them to stay in Washington County. I want them to want to stay here, and so they're going to need jobs. They're going to need places to work and places to eat, and I want to see that part of Washington County continue to grow.
One of the people running for county executive in Allegheny County has an ad that talks 15,000 people have left in the last year.
Yes.
What they don't seem to understand is that in the 70s, Pittsburgh's population was over 730,000.
Yeah.
Now it's less than 320,000.
Wow, yeah.
People have been leaving this area, and it's not just because jobs weren't there, because jobs were there.
Yeah,
It's because of the political mess that we find ourselves in, government requiring companies, small companies, big companies.
Right.
Well, now you have to pay $15 an hour
Right.
for a job that should pay $7.
Right,
And like I said, all of a sudden, city of Pittsburgh has been, giving everything away and not holding back, and then
Right.
they wonder why people are leaving. The crime has risen, and these are all important issues.
Right.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, I was watching the BBC a couple years ago, and that's the British Broadcasting Corporation for anybody who doesn't know. And I was watching the program, and they were talking about opioids.
Yeah.
And the BBC was doing a program about opioids, but their vision was on Uniontown, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
because we had so many. Now the opioid crisis is here too.
Oh, for sure.
We started off a couple years ago with 40 when I had Gene Vitone in that seat. We had just an entire program on the opioid problem. And last year, over 130 people died of opioids. And this is after they passed
This is
Narcan
after
off to
fixing it,
anybody.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you imagine if they didn't have that,
Right.
that number would be much more. These are some of the things, the jail, the opioids, the health care for the county. They passed the Second Amendment benefit, which I personally agree with, years ago, which in fact protects our rights as citizens. I'm a big constitutionalist.
Sure.
Like I said, thank God we had smart forefathers, because
Right.
the people there right now are idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board.
Right.
If somebody's going to get mad at me, that's fine. Who cares? I'm 73. What do I care?
You can just say whatever you want.
I know.
And
I know. I just put it up for Alzheimer's. I don't know. But you also have a program, and it is called the Redford Youth Protection Program.
Yeah, that is a program that's in development. It's not fully implemented anywhere just yet. With what we do, we have up-to-date up-to-date photographs of every student. And so when crises happen and people need to be able to act quickly to not only find students, to locate them, to identify them, we are trying to work with local law enforcement to make sure that everyone has what's necessary, a database that they can access when needed to find students and to identify them. But also doing a lot of work with, our objective is to do work with local fire departments and police to make sure that the buildings have proper identification markers and photographs and video that they can see, so they know, and they can do tactical practice runs and find ways to lock down a school for them. I hate to talk about those things, but that they can protect the students the best way that they can through the information that we give them with our technology and our photography and video and things like that. And so that is, again, I work with these kids all the time. I see them every day in my life. When I hear things happen tragically across the country, it breaks my heart, because I know that what we're dealing with. And so we're trying to find ways that we can, as a photography company, implement something just to make it a little bit safer, make it a little bit better.
Well, that'd be so much better. Some of these programs where kids go missing, the only picture the parent has is the kid hanging off a monkey bar upside down.
Yeah,
and that really doesn't
yeah,
do a whole lot
yeah.
for trying to find that person.
Right.
That situation was just terrible here yesterday. That they found a girl's Volkswagen after she left,
Right.
and they found her today, and it was a hoax.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where are the people's minds? Where?
Right.
How do they come up with this garbage?
Right.
I don't know. But anyhow, you volunteer in the community.
Yeah, yeah. My wife and I, we're very involved with a lot of things. Our church, we're members at the Bible Chapel, so we do a lot of stuff. I play guitar there. Up until COVID, I was there playing guitar a lot. But we're very involved with a lot of different things for our kids, and just being active members of the community. The other day, they had the Stop, Drop, and Run 5K in North Strabane. I was happy to sponsor that and just be involved with handing out the medals to the runners. My wife's a runner. I'm not a good runner. So she does the races. I like to be involved in any way I can, because those events, those community events where the community comes together to have a good thing going on, we like to be a part of that. Again, I say this all the time, but I want my kids to want to stay here. I want them to want to live here and know that this is a good community. This is where family stays, and you raise them here, and they want to stay here. And so we try to get involved with as much stuff as we can. Where my daughter is a theater student. She does nothing musical theater all the time, and so we're always involved, volunteering to help with those things, and we just like to be out and about and involved with the community, and just be a part of the things that go on. We've also done PTA work, but no one wants to do that, But
That's true.
Yeah, honestly,
yeah.
what I'm doing right now with this is easier than working on a PTA, without a doubt.
After being on the school board, I understand that totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
The opportunity. When I went to school, as I tell these kids, before the Earth's crust cold, in '68, being the Indian.
On the field with the horse?
Well, on the field with the horse, with the flaming arrow and the whole thing. We only had like 4,000 people in the community.
Yeah.
Now there's heading towards 23,000.
Yeah.
What these people don't understand, that's half the population of Iceland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They only have a population like
just a wealth
52,000
of
people.
facts.
I know. I'm useless knowledge.
Yeah, no,
don't
that's
ask me
good,
anything
though.
important, though.
That's good.
But you can ask any of those
Now that I
kids.
found you, I'm interested in talking more about these useless facts, because I'm a big trivia guy, and so that's good. So
Yeah, I just finished another program last night that I'll do probably in the middle of the month. But the bottom line is, let me see what else here. Your kids are in school?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
I have a daughter who's graduating high school this year. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are in Cannon McMillan, and one, my musical theater daughter, she goes to Lincoln Park, out to the charter school, out in Midland, and that was a tough decision for us, but for her it works out very well. But the other 2, my daughter Reagan, she's like I said, she's a senior. She's going to Carlow University for nursing, which I couldn't be prouder of that, but I think she's going to end up being a lawyer. So she wants to go to nursing school so that she has a job that she can do while she goes to law school.
Okay.
Which she's brilliant. She's very smart.
I can envision there's a few legal firms out there who would like that expertise.
Absolutely,
in
yeah,
both
because
fields.
she's talked about that with medical malpractice and whatnot. And, she said it's always interested her the medical side of things, and I think she may end up staying a nurse. I don't know yet, and that's what's great about the opportunities that she's had, through her schooling and now with college and whatnot. And
one of the camera people that were doing my program the other day, in fact, is also graduating this year from Peters and going to Carlow.
Okay.
And that's, like you said, of course, not too many years ago, that wasn't what boys did.
No.
Because it was an all-girl school.
Well, that's when I first went in for the meeting, I said, wait, do we have, is it co-ed? They said, yes, it's been co-ed since like 2006. I said, well, That's
Yeah.
only a couple years ago. You know, so,
So
when
what-
I was looking at it, it was not because I was
What grade is
2001.
your other daughter?
So well, I have a daughter who's in 10th grade. We had kids 18 months apart. all
Oh,
the
there
way
you
through.
go.
We said we're going to run. Let's just run this marathon, get it over with. Right? So we had, yeah, my oldest is 18 in July, and then my middle daughter, middle child, my Piper is 10th grade. She's the musical theater one, and then my son Cash is in 8th grade. And if you see pictures on my website, he's the one with the big red hair, and he's got a big head, of, you know. But
Yeah,
that's
on
us, yeah.
in my first marriage, I started out with 2 boys,
okay,
and then when I got remarried, she had 2 girls, and then we
Yeah.
had a girl for ourselves.
okay,
And it was interesting because every one of them is different,
yes,
and that's what my son, for a short while, he never had a computer course, but ended up as the chief of computer safety at CMU.
okay,
I have a stepdaughter who's about to become, I think, a general in the Air Force.
okay.
I
Wow.
have another one who's a teacher in Orlando. My youngest daughter was Cinderella at Disney.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was there after.
She's not supposed to tell people that.
Well, you know what?
that's one of the rules.
That's one of the benefits of. And my son owns Human Productions
Okay.
Tattoo Shop.
Oh, really?
So they're all over the
Okay.
world. Yeah. They're
Wow,
all
the
doing
connection
different
just
things.
got made. I don't have any tattoos, but
Oh,
I remember
well,
someone recommending
Yes.
Merrill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben is
Yeah.
Ben is
Ben,
my.
that's right.
Yeah, whenever he was in high school, he was making all of his money doing skateboards and
Yeah.
things. And then, yeah, he's
Yeah.
talk about a wild child.
Well, no, but it's a weird place to say this, but please tell him that I said hi because his name was given to me, I believe, by Sarah Simpson, who's amazing young lady, but she's 42 and she's in a wheelchair. She's about this high. I mean, have you ever met Sarah?
No, no, I haven't.
I think her nickname is Little Sarah, but Ben will know her.
Well, I was
believe,
teaching
yeah.
at Char
So,
Valley
yes.
one day, and this young teacher walks up next to me. I was on bus duty,
Yeah.
and the teacher said, "Are you Mr. Merrill?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "Do you know Ben Merrill?" And I said, "Yeah, he's my son." She goes, "Do me a favor." I said, "What's that?" She goes, "Never ask him anything about me."
Great.
I said, okay, great.
Yeah.
No problem. That's
Yeah.
off my book.
Right.
But anyhow, let's get back to why you're here.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things I like about this role, like I was saying before, is that you were being asked to be the stewards of the taxpayers' money. And one thing that my father did when I was growing up and working at the company is that he basically said, here's what you get paid, and everyone does their own payroll. Everyone does their own deduction of taxes, and then you have to find what you're giving the government of your efforts that the government gets. And the reason he did that is because he, I think, wanted people to vote Republican, but he wanted people to see where their, why their paycheck looked the way it did. He said, I'm going to give you $1,000, but if it comes back to you at $850, here's why, and so you can see it. And so I know what it's like to work and to see where that how much of my hard work is now given somewhere else. And I think there's a lot of wonderful things that government does. I'm not saying that we shouldn't participate. This is a community. We should all be paying our share to it. But at the same time, it's important to me to know that the people in power, the people who are in charge of distributing those funds, actually know what it feels like to take that money out of their paycheck. And so, useless knowledge. Grover Cleveland, I'm reading a book on him right now. He was the president. He ran twice. He won twice separately. But he, when he got elected mayor of Buffalo, he was given a speech where he talked about that, very much paraphrasing, but he said, if your neighbor gave you some money and he said, go spend it properly, you would spend it responsibly. You'd be careful with it. You'd do the right things with it, and because he's watching you. But for some reason, when we get elected, we assume that getting the collective money from our neighbors, that we can just spend it free, without thinking about it. And I that really rung true with me. I said, you know what? I have no ties whatsoever to anybody. When I go into this office, I have no, I don't want to say I have no friend or foe. I don't know any of the people that I'll be evaluating, that are promised certain things from other politicians. I have no ties to anyone. I am completely free to do what's best for the county and not what's best for me or for my friends. So people say, who are your political friends? I don't have many political friends. I don't owe anybody anything. No one owns me. And so I can honestly go in and say, let's evaluate this and do what's best for the county. And if people don't like it, then I'll be out in 4 years.
It's the county commissioner, as I mentioned to you when we walked in, covers so many different areas, healthcare and you know, the parks and all these different things, which most people really don't pay attention to
No.
until they use them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they want to know why it's not fixed.
Right,
You
right,
know,
yeah.
sorry to say that I understand one of the park employees fell off one of the bridges yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I'm still waiting to find out how they're
Oh.
doing. You know, once again, having been the Republican chairman for the county, having been the state committee member, having been elected as school board and council, I still have political attachments everywhere.
Sure.
You know, people that I met along the way and everything else. And it's interesting to find that most people who go into these jobs have no clue.
Yeah.
Have no clue on anything, business or anything. They're
Right.
just like, I'm a nice guy and I want to run.
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's not good for us.
No.
You know, we have to get people with business background because, as I was just telling this young lady, you know, management. She goes into management, she can pick anything,
Yeah.
absolutely everything, because management is involved in across the board.
Sure.
You know, if you're going to be a electrical engineer, you're limiting your scope.
Specific, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but business, you can do anything with any company possible. So, and that's, you know, you have to have that generalization background, and you're coming in with management, you're coming in with business experience, you're coming in with the opportunity to know how to meet people.
Right.
You know, there's people who run for office who don't want to talk to people.
Right.
And that always amazed me whenever
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, okay, you want me to support you, but you don't want to talk to me?
Right.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I have a real tough time with stupid people. When my kids were growing up, I always tell them, who don't we like? And they'd all cheer out, stupid people, you know, and it's just, you know, nothing else matters. And just some intelligence would be a big plus, you know.
Right.
But, yeah, we seem to be, and if we look at, you know, corruption doesn't just start locally. It doesn't, I'm sorry, it doesn't start nationally.
Right.
You know, it doesn't start in the state level. It doesn't start in the county level. It starts locally.
Right.
And, you know, you have to get good people to run for these offices so we get back the faith that we used to have.
Right.
I never imagined, when we were taught in high school here at Peters Township, that whenever you, in fact, make a law, it's not for a specific group. It's for all the
everybody, yeah.
people.
Right.
So everybody's protected, not just one group.
Right.
Now we have groups that are, oh, you know, this group and that group. I want one with you know, purple hair, and I want one. I'm sorry, I can't accept that, because that's not for all the people.
Right.
So it benefits some. It doesn't benefit. Why should one person have more protection than I do?
Right.
You know.
No, I mean, that is an interesting element to the world we live in now politically, is that, we take the fundamental things that we've always known and we flip them on their head a little bit just to get certain things across. And there are certain groups that are clearly trying to get that, to make that happen. And no, yeah, it is frustrating, but yeah, like you said, you know, e pluribus unum, man, from many one, and that's what we are. We are, you know, every law should be based on everybody, and that's so. Now, I do agree with that.
We have a real problem in this country, I believe, and that's a personal belief, that politicians bend to whoever paying them.
Yeah.
You know, Doug Walgren, years ago, I was in the military and I had to get a passport because they were sending me to Milan, Italy. And so I had to go down to DC and wait for my passport. Well, if you've ever gone and waited for a passport, there's like, you get 100, 1 to 100 A group, and then 1 to 100 B group, and then 1 to 100 C group. And I was in the B group, like 40. So I asked the security guard there, I said, do I have time? He said, what number are you? I said, oh yeah, you got like 3 hours, don't worry about it. So I had to drive down in the morning. So I was down there first thing when they opened the door, and then I went to lunch. And when I walked out, Doug Walgren was standing there. And I used to be on his campaign committee whenever he ran in Mount Lebanon, because I lived over there at the time. And while we were sitting there at breakfast or lunch talking, we started talking about, did he feel good now that he was out of Congress?
Right.
And he said, well, let me tell you what. He said, I know my kids now. I know what I'm doing. He said, I'm a lobbyist now on the other end of it. He said, but did you know back at that time, whenever it only cost $100,000 to run,
Yeah.
he said, I had to make $5,000 to $10,000 every week
Yeah.
to run the next election.
Right.
And he said, so I had to kowtow to everybody who was
Yeah.
writing checks.
Right.
When you realize that Nancy Pelosi has been in Congress for all these years, making somewhere between 50 to 140,000.
Yeah.
How did she come up with $176 million in her bank account?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
Right.
You know, don't sit there and hold somebody out. And I'm sure all the politicians have their bank accounts.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
sure
Yes,
they're
yes.
because if you get 10 million and it costs you 5 million,
Yeah.
that 5 million is technically yours. So, and
Yeah,
that's
but-
that's what's really sad about this, the
Right.
way that the politicians work, because then I start getting that money because now you're longer in Congress,
Yeah.
you're in charge of a group, so more people are coming to you and handing you a check,
Right.
and so you're getting more money. So instead
Right.
of 10 million, the next time maybe you have 20 million. Now you have
Right.
10 million in you.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, I have some real issues with the way politics
Sure.
are run. But on the other hand, I don't want some politicians getting my money if we stop those processes.
Right.
You know, if the government pays
yeah.
for everybody, I don't
Yeah.
want my money going to some of these clowns.
As one of the lower, guy with less of a war chest, if you will, it's not something I'm against, is the proper spending of money to help with that. But I can tell you that I've not received anything, which is, I mean, again, most of my donations have come from friends and
Oh, sure.
family, and that's really been the only way. I have no corporations, no big government entities. It's just going based on that, and that's the way I'd like to keep it for now. I'm not going to be naive and say that that's not going to change, as time goes on. The money in politics thing is very complicated, very.
Monica ran for about 3 weeks
Yeah.
for commissioner
Yeah.
a number of years ago. And we went out full hog. We ordered the 500 signs to begin with,
Yeah.
and we ordered the shirts with her name and
Sure,
everything
yeah.
on it. And then after about 3 weeks, we looked at each other and said, "This is bull."
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd rather go back
Right.
watching TV at nighttime.
Right, yeah, no,
because she was out every night, and I said,
Yeah.
"No, you know what? Our relationship is more important than running for this
Sure.
job."
It's a
and
commitment
that's-
for sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't get lost in it. We have about a minute left.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave it to you to tell people why they should vote for you.
Which camera do I have right here? Okay. First of all, thanks for taking the time to watch this program. And I would thank Mr. Merrill here for having me on. Like I said, just met him. Very nice guy. Very great. Yeah, so my objective with this is to do right by the county. I feel like the Republican Party itself is a little bit of a turmoil in the terms of how we are perceived and what we're doing to actually go out and get new voters and young people and people who want to get involved in politics are not running in full force to the Republican Party, and I think that they could be and they should be. So I'm trying to run a positive campaign, trying to bring a little bit more of a positive look to the Republican Party by doing right by the county, by doing right by the people, and being accountable and being transparent. Like I said, I'm not owned by anybody, so it makes it a little easier for me just to say, I will happily open my office to whoever wants to hear what's going on, and I'll be very transparent about it because it matters. Your tax dollars are paying for this county, and making sure that it runs the best that it can is going to be my objective. I've always lived in I don't want to say the spotlight, but my name's always been out there, and my face has always been out there, and I am aware of what it's like to be known and to be judged based on what you do. And so I'm looking forward to the opportunity. May 16th is the vote, and I appreciate you voting for Kevin Redford for County Commissioner.
Kevin, thank you very much for
Thank you,
coming
sir.
on.
I appreciate it.
And we will look forward to everybody in the next Talking Politics in Western Pennsylvania.